Hello, and welcome to another episode of AWS She Builds Tech Skills here in North America. My name is Candace Bohannon. I am one of your hosts. I am a specialist solutions architect based in Minnesota, beautiful Minnesota. So as everyone is coming online, let us know where you are watching us from. It's always fun to see like where in the world our viewers are. So as we're kind of kicking things off, we are here to talk about, today we're talking about the Q family of things. I am a specialist SA working on Q Developer, but there's more to Q than just Q Developer. So today I'm joined by my lovely co-hosts, Jane and Priyanka, and I'll let them introduce themselves as well. And we're going to go into each of these different areas of the Q family throughout this presentation. So let us know where you're coming from and if you have any questions about any of the Q things as we go along. Jane, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Jane Ridge, Senior Solutions Architect with Amazon. I've been here about 4.5 years, and I am based out of beautiful North Carolina. I work with customers all across the U.S., and as you can imagine, a lot of generative AI, AI/ML conversations in the last 2 to 3 years. Priyanka, how about you?
Hey everyone, I'm Priyanka Sadhu, a Senior Solutions Architect at AWS with nearly 2 decades of experience in data and business intelligence sector. I've been with AWS for almost 3 years now, or actually I clocked on my 3 years last week. See, I still keep saying almost 3 years, but now I'm at 3 years. So yeah, and like Jane, I also support SMB customers in the US. And I'm excited to talk about one of the Amazon Q family business intelligence tool. So we'll see how it can help transform businesses as well. So excited to show you what it can do.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show today, both of you. Priyanka, this is your first time, at least in this iteration of She Builds. So thank you a bunch for being here.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Let's just kind of level set right here. I'm a specialist SA for Q Developer, and people call me all the time and they're like, "Can you help me with QBiz? Can you help me with QuickSight?" And I mean, like I can a little bit, but I'm not a specialist in those areas. So let's explain to the audience, and also anyone who's watching, let us know what kind of questions you have. But what are the different parts of the family that we're going to be going through today? I don't know, Jane, do you want to kind of give us an overview of the 3 cousins? I don't know how they're related.
Yeah. Cousins, brothers and sisters, whatever we was with that. But I think of it as sort of 3 main areas. So think of Amazon Q for Business. So this is going to be your conversational AI assistant. So think about organizations that might have different pieces of knowledge, right? This might be unstructured data that you have that could be sitting, over here in this drive, or it could be different areas. We'll talk through the data a bit more, but if you'd like the ability now to ask questions around that, right? So this is a way of unlocking like organizational type data. Then the second one we have is going to be Amazon Q in QuickSight. So QuickSight, if you're not familiar, Priyanka is going to be showing you more about it, but it is a business intelligence tool. So it lets you understand, trends in your data. You can see data insights. And so the Q in QuickSight, that's adding those generative AI capabilities. So sort of adding a bit of magic. So now you can use like natural language to ask questions of the data, things like that. And then finally, a lot of you might be familiar. I'm curious out here if other people have been using the products, but Q Developer, that's going to be basically your coding companion. So this is boosting developer productivity and basically allowing you to code smarter, ship faster, that kind of thing.
Awesome. I think that's super helpful because they're all called Q. And so I think people kind of get a little bit confused about like when you use each one. So I think that's helpful. We're getting a couple of comments coming in from our audience. We have BW Tech Trex. We know her. She's on the show sometimes. And then I told you, Victor. Hello. He's
hello.
Priyanka, would you add anything to what Jane talked about as far as what Q is? You have a deep expertise in data. So any additions you would add there?
Absolutely. So, in my last years that I've worked in tech, I've had the privilege of working across diverse industries with different kind of customers, from telecommunications to finance to nonprofit organization. What I've seen is like, regardless of the sector, the powerful analytics remains universal. So the power that we bring when we are doing the analytics right is what every company is looking for. So, as we transition into the Gen AI era, now we have more power to talk to our data, like Jane was mentioning, right? Say, regardless if I know how to write a SQL or not, I should still have the power to go and ask questions to my data. That's what Gen AI has revolutionized, I feel. Back in the day, when I was just a beginner, learning SQL was such a big thing. I would read up on books, look up blogs, whatnot, and try maybe 10,000 times to get to the right query. Maybe might have taken me a day or two to get to the right query and this much of data. So you can see how much time saving this is. Again, a skill which was very in demand and only few niche people could do it. Now I believe data is in everyone's hands. So everyone has the power to look into the data, understand the trends, and maybe somebody in operations can come up with trends that probably they could have never done before.
Yeah, absolutely. It I think that last part that you're talking about, first of all, you're talking about books. Like, when was the last time you opened a book to learn a programming language? It's been a minute.
Yeah.
But I feel like with these Gen AI tools, we're like giving the power to more people to be able to, unlock their data, develop code,
Yeah.
whatever those things might be.
And just to add to that, Candace, like, even when I started in AWS, GenAI was not there, right? So again, QuickSight was something I discovered. I was like, yeah, this seems like a really powerful tool. But again, there was a learning curve, right? How do you need to use it? How do you do, what's the kind of language it understands? But I think even now with GenAI, that is gone, right? So
Yeah.
we'll
And
see it. Yep.
it's still a learning curve, I would say, too, like context management, prompt engineering, all of those sorts of things. I feel like that's where I help people a lot on Q Developer. Just, we know that it's a coding assistant and it can help us with developing our code, but how do we really get the most out of it that we possibly can? So that's what I spend time with customers doing. And I'm going to show some Q Developer cool stuff that's kind of new at the end. I get to go last today. So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Would love to see and learn from you as well, because this is where I get a lot of questions from my customers. Again, not my area of strength, but I would love to learn from you today.
Well, call me when your customers have questions too, because I cover your customers. So call me.
Candace, one thing I was thinking about too that our audience might not be familiar with. I was going to ask them. So these are all managed services. I was going to poll the audience to, for those of you who are familiar, do you know what that means when we say like these are managed services?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because I feel like sometimes we use some lingo in here and not everybody knows what that exactly means. So let us know. Do you know what does manage mean? Managed services, drop it in the chat and let's test your knowledge. No pressure. We're all friends.
Yeah. No pressure.
Cool. Well, do we want to go ahead? Any other like chit chat we want to do, or do we want to jump into some?
I would say, why don't we jump in and maybe we can start talking through. I'm happy to show Q for Business.
Yeah. Okay. So Jane is first. I'm going to pull up your screen and she's going to walk us through some Q for Business, just how to set it up. And I'm sure I'll ask questions along the way.
Cool. So I would say one of the beauties of, so we're talking about managed service. So a managed service, for those of you who might not be familiar, it's something that you can just use out of the box. So Amazon is really amazing because they provide, we talk a lot about like Legos, right? You can build anything, you can take a piece here, a piece there. When you have a managed service like this, it's nice because it enables you to just quickly get started. You're not having to figure out like, what are all the pieces I want to put together? And so when you have a managed service, it's just there for you. There's a little bit of customization and we'll go through that, but you can just start using it. And so it's very quick to unlock value, which is what I like about this. So I encourage my customers to get started on this. So with Q for Business, we talked about this is basically a way when you have data, you can start unlocking this as a knowledge base. So I'm going to get started with showing you actually the end result first, and we're going to work backwards from that. So when you deploy Q for Business application, you get a web front end. So I'm going to show you my web front end. And basically now you can see I have a space to start asking questions. And so I'm going to pretend in this case that I am a new employee. And I've created basically kind of an HR knowledge base. And in this case, I want to know information about this company and how I should get started in my first week. So I'm going to just start with saying like, I'm a new employee. What are some key things I should know? Yeah, let's see. We'll make sure I can spell that correctly. All right. So I'm going to just, and you can see that's pretty wide. Like that's a pretty wide question. I didn't tell it anything about like what company I'm working for. I didn't really give it anything about like my position, that kind of thing. So in this case, it's coming back with some information. We'll see what it comes back with. So it's going to say, okay, great. So you should probably know about working hours. You should know about dress code. We're going to give you information on security policies, code of conduct, etc. So this looks pretty legit, I would say, for somebody who's new. And you might be thinking like, okay, that's great, but how is it answering that, right? The key is going to be like, what is the data behind that? And so looking at this, what I've actually done, and I'll show you all on the back end, is I've created a sample employee handbook. And I basically fed it into Q and said, I want you to use this to answer questions. And so when you see these little numbers, for example, it's actually referencing where in that data it is finding that information. So that's great because you can see it's not making that data up. It's preventing against hallucinations, things of that nature. I'm going to ask it another question. So I have a dog at home. And so I'm going to see, can I bring my dog into the office?
Yeah.
I hope I can. Okay, so coming back. Now this is interesting. It's saying it can't complete the response because the content was blocked. So we'll go through and I'll show you this on the back end again, but essentially you can bring your data, give it a web front end where you can ask questions, but you also have the ability to put in guardrails. And this is really cool because this is where if you have an organization that, let's say, there's certain data that you just don't want people asking about, things like that, you can put in a guardrail. And so I've actually blocked the word dog. And so anytime I put in the word dog, it's going to be like, nope, we're going to block that content, which is really cool because that's, such a useful way of being like, okay, we want to make sure people are asking appropriate questions, that kind of thing of the data.
But I mean, maybe you want a new job because no dogs. I agree. That's sad. AWS, by the way, Amazon, we're dog friendly. There's dogs in the office, at least in my office. Are your offices dog friendly?
Yeah, I just had someone bring in a dog the other day, and it was such a cute dog. I can't tell you. Oh my God. Sat beside me as if like it was my pet, wanted to jump on my lap. I was like, oh, that's amazing. Such a well-behaved dog.
I love it. I think Postman a while back, this is a quick little tangent. We're going to talk a little bit. Postman had a little dog. It was their like chief happiness officer, and it was a golden retriever, and it was the owner's dog. And so like I had a sticker that was the chief happiness officer from Postman, and a t-shirt. I really liked Postman for a while. So
Nice.
anyways, yeah.
Very nice.
That's cool. I love that. Love that. Well, so real quick, I'm going to show you one more thing, and then I'm going to show people behind the scenes because you're probably like, okay, what's making this work?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask it just a very general question. I'm going to say like, what's the capital of Italy? Okay. If I can spell capital correctly.
I mean, they'll understand you.
It will. I tell you what, spelling was my worst subject in school. So spell check and all that is like one of my the things that makes me tick at this point. But you can see there's no answer found. And the reason behind this, so when you think about what's running behind this is a large language model that has trained on tons of information. So the large language model that's actually powering this understands what the capital of Italy is. The reason it cannot answer the question, and we'll go in, is because I've specifically said, here's the data I want you to answer the response with, and I've not allowed it to answer with additional data. So that's interesting, because if you're an organization that is like, I want you to just answer based upon our company knowledge, don't add to that, you can also say, okay, we're just going to focus in this area and nothing more.
Nice.
Just to interrupt you, Jane, do we know what large language model is this using right now behind the scenes?
See, that's a great question. That's another key with, I would say, not all of the managed services, because I think QDev developer is a bit different. But when it comes to Q for business, basically that is obfuscated from you. It's using a large language model, but you cannot sit there and say, I want this one versus that one. There are trade-offs to that. I would say, if you get to the point where something like this requires maybe a little bit more customization, that's when you might be like, do we need a managed service or do we want to build our own?
Yeah.
But this is just out of the box. It's going to just pick whatever, is sort of the best one in this scenario.
So I will say just a couple things from the audience. Schizophrenic web dev knows it's Rome, so we could just ask him.
All right, good job. Yeah, no, thank you.
And then BW has a question too about customizing some responses. So maybe you could show us some of that whenever you jump into the back end.
Yeah, so let me go through the back end, and I'll say, getting started, this was easy. I create these in minutes. So seriously, go in here if you haven't tried it. Q Business, you can put it in minutes, but I'm going to go in the back end of this one that I've made, this application. And so a few things and around the customization of the response. So you can come in here and you can say, we do have, these are admin controls and guardrails that I was talking about. So I'm going to edit this and show you. This is where I'm saying, am I going to allow it to fall back to the language that the LLM knows in general? In this case, I've said no. I can also come in here, and this is where I've got my blocked words. I did dog and cat. So that's where you can start customizing some of that. And then also when we talk about response customization, so what you were bringing up, so this is where you can come in here and basically it's got default as far as this is how we're going to respond to information. But if you want to come in here and say, I want to customize what that looks like, I'm sorry, that's not something in our organization, you can set that up here. So essentially you've got a bunch of different dials. Even though it's a managed service, there's still a lot of customization you can add. The other thing I want to show everybody behind the scenes, so data sources, because it's this is really as powerful as what data you're bringing into it. So you can see in this case, I've just uploaded a file. I actually, for the full circle of life, I had the LLM create me the HR handbook, and then I fed it in here. But you can also add additional data sources. You're not just limited to that. So if I go in and I click add data source, I could actually crawl a web page. So let's say you have an internal company intranet set of, you could have it crawl that. If you have data in S3, if you want to upload files, but also you can see a lot of my customers have data out on Google Drive they want to bring in, and Slack. And the beauty is this really is bringing it all together under that one umbrella of, okay, I can now ask questions across the data versus having to go one place for an answer here, that kind of thing.
I saw a commercial about that recently. It was for someone else. I'm glad I don't remember who it was for, but they're like, yeah, we have data all over the place. Why can't we answer this question? I was like, I can help them. Really, QBiz can help them. But that's really what this does, is kind of bring that all so that you can access it and then even interact with it and ask easy questions. I mean, not easy. They should be easy to find questions if you know where to look. And now Q Business kind of helps you bring it all together. So awesome.
Is there a limit on the number of data sources that we can use here?
I have not seen that. I'm not sure. Like I would say, anything that you can see here, you can bring in.
Got it.
I haven't had a customer hit a limit, and I have had customers talk about, like, if you don't see something here, could you potentially bring it in as well? And that's where we do have custom data sources that could also be set up. So that's another area. So just because you don't see it here doesn't mean that it couldn't necessarily be brought in. You would just have to make sure that it could work with like a custom data source.
Got it. I was trying to ask around, the number of documents or the size. Have you seen any limitations around those?
Oh, so
Yeah.
that's a great question. So let me that this sort of drives into, let me show you how this set this up. I said it takes a few minutes. Let me show you a little bit about setting up a new application. So you come in here and we would just create an application. You're going to give it a name. You can give it any name you want. You can either have authenticated access, which I would highly recommend for company data. But you can also set up anonymous access. So let's say you wanted to have something that was like public facing knowledge that you wanted anybody who came to your environment to hit this website to ask. You could do that as well. And this can be actually embedded within a website. So it can be standalone, but you can do embedding. So we're going to say, okay, set up some access methods. I'm going to just put this up in my environment really quick. But once I create the web experience, then you're going to add the data. So this takes, I would say, a few seconds. You can see it's doing this on the back end. Okay, it's already done. So that's the hard part. You set that up. And then the second part is going to be adding in your data sources. And so when you set up your data sources, to your question, Priyanka, you have to add an index. So this is going to basically be kind of your vector database behind the scenes where it is pulling that data in. So when we add an index, this is going to be important to know as you're looking to set this up. This is where you're going to want to understand how much data am I potentially bringing in. Mm-hmm. So you can either set up enterprise, which is going to scale up to 1 million documents, or you could also do like a starter kit if you're like, hey, we're not going to scale as much. Yeah.
That's amazing. No, thank you for answering that. I get this a lot from my customers as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Any, I guess I would love to know from the folks in the audience, has anybody been using Q for Business before today?
Yeah. If you have, let us know. Tell us a little bit about what you've built. And if you haven't, I like to tell people, put a sad face. And hopefully after this, you'll be curious and want to go play with it a little bit.
Yeah. This is, I would say, if you have any sorts of data and you want to just start playing with it, like, feel free to go, like I said, it's literally minutes. Another thing that's sort of interesting that a customer did recently of mine, they had they were like asking, we have a big document, but it's got a lot of architecture drawings in it. Mm. And one thing they've added recently is the ability to look at drawings and videos as well. So this isn't just text, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I maybe will have a blog coming out on the Kiro website soon about the multimodal interaction. It's super powerful to be able to take your whiteboard drawing and upload it. Or, I'm of course focused on QDev, but kind of behind the scenes, they're using some similar technology. I think it's so neat. I popped this up just really quickly. This is one that we didn't actually talk about, but Amazon Connect with Q. I've heard of people using this also. Assuming it's sort of like Lex and those sorts of things on top of it. Do either of you know much about Amazon Connect with Q? Or maybe Itachi could educate us all.
I would say I've got some customers that are starting to use that. So I know it's a generative AI assistant managed within Connect. But I don't have a whole lot more than that. But yeah, I think that's an important one. We didn't have time to cover in the Power Hour, but maybe in the future one, that would be a great one to dive deeper into.
Yeah,
Awesome.
just to add to what Jane just mentioned, I have customers who have like huge call centers, and they are seeing a lot of use with the Connect, especially with the analytics feature. It's called the Contact Center Live, and they go in and they're doing the live call analytics, seeing like how the call sentiment is, and they're able to answer questions even better and faster. So it's really helping them. But again, I'm not a Connect expert, so I don't go deep dive. I bring in specialists all the time.
Yeah. And it is part of it's using Lex kind of
Yes.
behind the scenes. We have so many services,
Yeah.
different logos
Yeah.
that, like Jane was talking about, that we can kind of piece together to make really cool applications.
Yep.
Cool. So I mean, I know this is a lot in a short period of time. That's why we're doing the Power Hour. But I would say let's move on maybe to the Q and QuickSight. And if you have additional questions around this, like just let us know. We're happy to follow up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So Priyanka, are you ready?
I am ready. Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Show us some Q for QuickSight, and also kind of set us up. What's your data source? What are we doing today?
Absolutely. So, where Jean left off, she was talking about the Queue for Business. There is a connector in Queue for Business that connects you to QuickSight as well. So, I was talking about before we started, right, how you can start asking questions in natural language. So, see, like you start asking basic questions about your company, just like Jean showed, like, what are the company policies, this and that. But say you want to do some research once you have joined inside the company and you've been thrown like a bunch of dashboards, and you're like, okay, I need to understand the data before I dive deep and go and ask others more deep dive questions, right? So you want to be like a little smart, do your homework, and then go there. And this is where, from Q for Business, you would come into QuickSight. So for today's analysis, what we'll do is like we're going to use a data set which is called the SaaS Orders data set. So SaaS Orders is basically a SaaS company called the Ambient Technologies, who sells like sales and marketing data to organizations which are around the world. So this is what the data set is like today. So before we begin, we are going to know what are the two different personas. One is an author and one is a reader. So in the audience, I don't know how many have used Amazon QuickSight before, but if you have not, this is where it comes. So authors are basically, you will be building your dashboards, and readers will be basically, you're just consuming the data, you're asking questions to your data, right? And this is where, but if you're new to QuickSight, probably you would think, oh, maybe now I need to learn how to use this new tool. And this is where I get a lot of questions from my customers as well. They love QuickSight. And before, the natural language part came in, they were like, oh, my team uses certain XYZ product. Now they need to learn and spend so much time here. But I don't think my team has that time to invest in a new tool. Although we like it, we will not be able to adopt it right now. And this is where things accelerate, and we are going to see it now. Say, I have gotten this data set, I have imported it. Just a second, this happens. I'm sharing another screen, so I may not be looking into the camera. So let's go and start asking some questions to Q here.
And remind me, where is this data? Did you put it in S3?
So this is basically just a file, Excel file that I downloaded, and this is like a synthetic data set. It's not like any company's data set. It's like something that I made up for the demo. So we're going to go and ask some questions, and I'm going to ask sales for top products, and let's see what it does. Let me know if everyone can see it fine. Or do
This
I need to
Priyanka, you don't even have any visuals. You just have the data set basically connected in,
don't have
and now
anything. Yep.
you can
Exactly.
start asking. Okay.
Let's do it again. Yes, we got something, and we can say, okay, add to analysis. As you can see, I'm pretty new to QuickSight. I just looked at the data set and I thought, okay, I should go and start asking some questions. Now that I've gotten the basic one, maybe I need to understand what is the profit of this. I made some sales, but what is the profit? And as you can see in my data set, I don't have any columns. Like I have profit, but I don't know what is the profit ratio or anything like that. And I want to understand that. So I can go to a calculated field and I say, can you calculate what is a profit ratio for me for this data set? Again, I'm not going to go and write the formula here. I'm going to go and just type in total profit ratio. And I'm going to give it a name called profit ratio as well. And let's go and build it, and let's see what Q does for us.
So we have a couple of comments more coming in from Itachi here. They're excited about the improvements in QuickSight. We're actually going to have a QuickSight deep dive, I think in about a month. I can't remember the calendar off the top of my head, but we're going to do more in QuickSight. So join again, keep your eye out. And then they're also working on a project where they created some QuickSight reports also. So very cool.
That's amazing. Like you see, this is so fast. This is amazing. I wish when I started, it was already there. I spent a lot of time asking questions to people who were experts or posting in other channels where I could get more information. But this in itself is really good. This is a good start, right? So I have asked some questions. I've got some basics. It built a profit ratio calculated column for me. Now I want to use this again in my analysis, and I want to say, hey, can you build me something with the profit ratio trend? So I'm going to go and ask it, show me profit ratio trend.
So both of these things are Q enabled. You have like your Q, or it's a Q helper of some sort. You're using a Q visual builder thing over here. And then the other one that you used can actually create calculated fields for you.
This is all Q, which is in QuickSight. You don't have to do any additional plugins. It comes with Q. So you can just enable it and start asking questions. That's it.
Nice.
And you have the two different mode type of things though, because you're over here right now when you're like, build me a visual. And then the other spot is where you would go to say, help me calculate a profit. Are there other places to use Q in here too? I have not been in QuickSight in a very long time.
Absolutely. And like I said, this is the author perspective. So think you don't know QuickSight at all. And you can go and throw in any data and start asking questions. It's going to start building visuals. You don't even have to know what kind of visual you need. It looks at the data and tells you, I think this is more suitable. If you don't like it, you can go ahead and change it. But this is like what I think is smart. So look at this. I asked for the profit ratio trend and it gave it to me right now. But as you can see right now, you see it's like Jan, Feb, it's like per month. And I feel it's a lot going on there. What if I go and say like, hey, can you add some color here? So let me go and say, add some color to this.
Oh, that's cool. So you could basically kind of just say like, this is even what the way I'd like to visualize the data.
Yeah. So I'm going to add some color to the product. Okay. So let's see what it does.
Whoa.
See, it's so
Oh,
nice. It changed the color, it gave you the product, and it's much more neater, I feel right now, right? It was so cluttered before. It looks still cluttered, but at least you can filter on the product now, right? So this was a little about the author, and you can go on to this, but because we have less time, I will move on with this. So now that we have looked at the author persona, let's also try and understand what is the reader persona. But before that, let's take a look at the number of data sets that we have right now that you can bring in. It's S3, Salesforce, Athena, RDS. I just brought in a simple Excel file, like you can upload a file here, which is CSV, Excel, or anything. But there are so many different forms of data sources that you can import from. And again, there are custom connectors you can build as well. So that is the power of QuickSight.
And Priyanka, like, do you see generally customers who are bringing in data from multiple data sources? Like, what does that look like within QuickSight?
So usually, what customers try to do, they try to upload a lot of, backend Excel files, CSV files, say if they have some finance things going on within the company, which is probably not in their database because, of course, it's not that huge. These are small and medium businesses. But still, they want to analyze the data, make it much more automated and faster and cleaner. So they import their files here, right? And say, I do have my database data. I want to club all of this together, make it one data set. You can do that as well. So there are different ways you can do it. Okay, moving on. Now let's look at the reader persona where I was trying to bring in. So this is a pre-built dashboard for the ambient technologies. We have a bunch of chart here. Again, I'm new to the company. I've been thrown like 15, 20 dashboards to look at it. And tell my understanding it within a week. How do I do that? So the first place I would be like going here and say, hey, can you build me an executive summary? And you'll see how powerful it is. It tells you exactly what the key points of this dashboard is. So the first thing it tells you, it's like the finance sector leads industry sales at so and so, followed by energy, manufacturing, contributing to 1.8 million sales. So let's look at see where is this coming from. So it highlights which chart is it getting this information from. So as you can see here, then it goes about the customer orders. So as you can see right away, it gives you a very good executive summary, and then you can go and start asking questions like I was showing you. Like, hey, if I want to ask question about what are my top products that sold in a certain month, like let's see, what is the it is recommending some questions here, but probably these are the ones that I asked before, that's why it's recommending them. But if I don't want to ask questions what is getting shown here, I can go and type in my question as well. What is the product that sold most, let's say?
So I use QuickSight dashboards to like monitor to make sure that I'm paying attention to my customers, and like we have QuickSight dashboards inside of AWS as well. And I struggle with them all the time because mine are just like the table thing, and then I'm like looking through all of them and it kind of makes my eyes cross, not really. But I didn't realize that I can probably access Q. I should know this. I'm a little bit embarrassed. I can probably access Q right there and be like,
Yeah.
Which customer should I pay attention to the most this week? Give me the top 5 that I need to reach out to, or something like that. I'm going to do this today.
Yeah, and we have built our own dashboards like that, you said, and we as SAs and account teams always use that to pay attention to a top growing accounts or see what is going on, just to understand the lay of the land, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
So as you see, I just asked the question about what is the product that sold most in June of 2023. June 2023. I said 203. What is that? But it still picked up and it said June 2023. That was cool, right? So yeah. So now you can see like how it is changing, and it is being able to give me a breakdown of the products that sold. It's telling me the number of order numbers and everything, and you can say total quantity by product and everything. So if you didn't like what it said, you can say a thumbs down, like, hey, I don't like what you said, I want to give you a feedback and I want to give you a thumbs down. So when you do a thumbs up or thumbs down, these all go behind the scenes, and whoever is the admin of this dashboard will be able to capture the feedback. And with the learning, the model becomes much smarter here, and next time when you ask the same question, it knows, okay, I didn't do a good job this time, I know how to answer this. So it's again behind the scenes. There are topic creations where whoever is the admin can take a look at it and look at the general statistics of how the AI or Q is answering these questions.
Cool.
That's awesome. And
Yep.
and just to get started with this, Priyanka, like, so if I'm basically, it sounds like starting with QuickSight, and then it would just be a question of enabling the features. I don't really have to do anything else except sort of turn that on. Is that right?
Yep. So, say if you have two or three different dashboards, right, and you want to combine the data from 2 or 3 dashboards and start asking questions, that's where, you go behind the scenes and say, these are all related, create a topic out of it. And now it knows, okay, these 3, if you're asking a question, I should look into these 3 dashboards and then answer you, just not one. So the better you give it instructions, the better it behaves and the better prompts and answers you get. Because I've seen many times customers telling me that, hey, it doesn't work because I'm asking something, it's answering something else, and I'm like, did you try adding more context to your data so it knows how to answer it? So it's like how you would give more context to get the right answer. That's how it is. And you can keep asking follow-up questions. So yeah, I would say like try giving more context to it, more data to it, and then your answers will be correct.
That makes sense. The more context you give me, the better I can answer your question too.
Exactly. Yeah. We have to train it to become smart, right? And just one more thing, like Q Business, in QuickSight, you don't know what LLM is being used. You do not have control over the LLM that is obscured from you as a user. But whatever we have heard from the product team, this is one of the best LLMs that is getting used here. So again, it's all good, right? Whenever I see answers which are not correct, I just go and do a thumbs down, and I see next time when I've asked, the answers are much better.
Awesome.
Okay. Do we have time? I would quickly like to show one more thing, which is the monthly sales performance. And you might think, what is this? So all the dashboards that we have, we created a data story out of it. And what is a data story? Think of it like if you had to present this to your leadership in a next meeting, and they're like, tell me the key points out of this dashboard. You'll be like, okay, if you were to do it manually, it would take you such a long time to do it, to compile all of this together, right? So now you can go to data stories and say, hey, this is my dashboard, these are the visuals I want to use, can you and give it like a little prompt and say, hey, I want you to create it in this style, and it creates a report out of it. It can become like a PowerPoint presentation as well. I chose to make it a PDF file. And if you don't like anything, whatever it has mentioned, you can just highlight and say, hey, Q, can you change it for me? Make it shorter, longer, change it to bullets. I don't want a paragraph style, whatever you want. So I feel it's, again, very powerful. You can go and say, like, what data sources needs to come into your data stories.
Awesome.
So again, a very powerful thing. I know we are rushing, so I'm going to stop here. And I know, Candace, we are waiting for the most exciting part here, which is the Q developer.
I don't know if it's the most exciting, but maybe it's because I talk about it all day, every day. So
exciting for me because, I am excited to learn about it today.
Awesome. Quick little comment that we got here from Bevan: QuickSight to query data smooth with analytics. So just want to bring up some happy feedback for us. So okay, well then I will start sharing my screen. Actually, before we get going, so what I'm going to show you today, I'm going to show you in just a minute. What I'm going to show you today is some of the newer things that I'm really excited about in QDev. I am also going to link to a previous episode where I did a session with Tamara, one of our other hosts, and I had a Java backend and I used Q to create a front end. So that's more of like an intro type of thing to QDev. What I want to show you is a thing that I'm actively working on and some of the new features and some of my favorite things. So you're going to see that I'm still working. Like down here, you see my terminal. Is this big enough? Should I make it just a little bigger? Are we okay?
Maybe a little bigger. Yeah.
Okay. It's hard to see, especially with the dark.
I need my reading glasses sometimes. So.
Me too, thick glasses. So if we've done shows together before, if I've talked to you or one of your customers, I love the QCLI. Completely and totally obsessed with it. Kiro is cool. The IDE plugin is cool. The CLI is my favorite. I don't think you're supposed to have a favorite child, but I do. One of my favorite, so I'm using it just like crazy. Something that we came out with at the end of July is custom agents. Obsessed with custom agents. I currently have a project manager assistant, a solution architect, and a security guardian. So those are some that I've been demoing for like a month now, actually. And my goal for this week is to create an orchestrator agent, aka the mama agent. So tell everybody where they're supposed to be. And I'm using Agent Core to do that. So I'm in the middle of it right now. I'm going to show you. Let's see. I want to show you one of the things that I've been using. First of all, you see these experimental features. In this version of the CLI, I believe it's 1.15, came out like 2 weeks ago. You can now enable these experimental features. Also think they're very cool. So you can have it kind of explain its thinking mode with this one right here. I haven't used the knowledge one yet. I have used a tangent. If you want to just ask a question but not pollute your context, you can like go on a tangent. I always go on tangents, but I love a to-do list like nobody's business. So you can, I keep forgetting the command. Sweet. You can look at the to-do list. So here is the one that I am working on right now. So what I did is I did like a /to-dos help. I don't remember all of the things. So I had it helped me create a to-do list, which it then created. And we've just been going through this to build out my Mama orchestrator agent to have my custom agents go. So I'm very excited about that. I really hope I finish it today, but I have a lot of meetings. So this is a thing that I'm working on today, and you can just tell it to like, okay, continue working on the to-do list.
That's awesome. And what kind of prompt did you get it, Candace, to like even get to the to-do list? Like, how did you start that conversation?
I enabled to-dos, and like first you do a /experiment so that you can get to those experimental features. And then I turned on to-dos, and then I said, let's make a to-do list. We're going to make a to-do list for the agent core implementation. I know Jane knows. I love the spec-driven development. I definitely lean more that way over vibe coding. And so you'll see that I already had a deployment plan for this agent core. So this is what is pulled up right now. So first Q and I were kind of talking about it and coming up with our plan. And so my implementation plan or deployment plan here is pretty similar to what's also in the to-do list. So now we're giving you multiple options to like lean into that spec-driven development. I'm going to just check and make sure they're not doing anything crazy here, because I think we're doing authentication. So I just want to make sure that nothing crazy is happening. I don't recommend just trusting. Look at every single thing they build and make sure that they're not giving you junk or something that's not as secure as you would want it to be. Just review it every time. So that's one of the things that I always tell people. You can trust. I just don't. Trust but verify. So I want to look through here. Make sure we're not doing something silly like putting API keys directly in here. It looks like we're getting them from somewhere, so that is good. Okay, this seems probably okay, and I am in a call, so I don't want to spend too much time, but anything jumping out at either of you that this is dumb? I think it looks fine.
Yeah, nothing for me.
Okay. So we'll do a yes and let it go ahead and do that. And then actually what we can do, depending on time, is maybe I can switch over to my security guardian agent and have him review and make sure that I don't have any silly stuff happening in here. One of my favorite things in the IDE plugin, which I have over here on this side, is for like we could go into all kinds of different things. You can have MCP servers here. Pin certain context, including an image file, going back to that thing with QBiz, also can have an image file as part of your context. And you can create rules. I also love rules, but we can't talk about them today because we don't have enough time.
Do you have any, I guess, Candace, any examples of where you've seen people started using the image files in the context to help?
Only me, and I'm just doing prototype things right now. But like if you have a whiteboard architecture diagram, uploading that, or like a sequence diagram, that's really helpful. Even a UI, like a UI sketch to say, this is what I want the thing to look like. One of my favorite things about this, though, is the reviewing of the code. I used to be a DevOps engineer. And so I ask it, can you review my code base? So like a month or so ago, this was the /review agent. You don't have to do a /review anymore. Just talk to it like a normal person or assistant, and it'll review your code for you. So this is one that I tend to do cooking show style because it takes a little while to go through. It goes through your entire code base, and it stops at only 50 findings. So this is not a great code base. It's not super great yet, and that's fine. It's still in development. So it stopped at 50 issues, and it kind of gives you a summary of those issues that it found. It also writes them out up here. So you can see your Amazon Q code issues. These aren't as bad as I was expecting, so that's pretty good. If I was a customer still, I would make sure that you're not allowed to deploy your code or even merge into a shared branch with high or critical issues. I would set a rule like that, like a development rule, not a queue rule. So this is nice because we're shifting all the way left into your IDE. So
Will it correct the errors by itself? Like, say if there are some errors and I'm like, hey, I don't know what you mean. Can you fix yourself? Can it do that?
yes, that's what I'm about to show. That's what I love so much about this. You
Oh,
can use it to learn. Like you were saying earlier, you had to use a SQL book.
yeah.
Now we can just ask, like, how do I do the thing? And so here I clicked on this first error, and you can see it takes me directly to where it is. You can have it explain, fix, or you can decide that you don't care about this error specifically or all of the inadequate error handling. You can do the same thing over here. This is the explain, fix, and ignore. So it doesn't matter which one we pick. You can have it fix, and then it'll pop down in here. Oops. Hold on. I want to make it bigger. I'm struggling with there it is. So over here, you'll see that my screen changed, my code changed. And over here, he is now fixing. You can see the context that he's looking at, the file that we have open here. You can click right here to see what actually changed. So this is a time when I like to use the IDE plugin, when I want to be able to see that side by side, because this interface is kind of hard to digest.
This is amazing. Honestly, I'm not a front-end person, and I feel like, I can start writing and come up with a landing page or a website.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I love about it too. I'm not a front-end person, but with this, I'm able to learn about it. With the review thing, it helps you to be better at, oops, that was the last one that I fixed. It helps you to be better at being more secure as you're writing the code, because it tells you exactly what's wrong in your code,
Yeah.
So I love that feature.
Do you have, I guess, organizations just thinking like, if you've got 10 people who are working together, how would you recommend, like if I'm working with you on something and Priyanka, we're all going together, us getting on the same page to enforce like security rules, just to make sure like, hey, this is always happening?
Yeah, I think the way that I've been recommending it and what I've heard is working okay is that you need to have your team that's like your architecture review board or your security team, whatever team it is that kind of sets those rules for your organization, have them write those rules in a markdown file. No, they're not in here. Have them write them in a markdown file, put them in your repository, and make it so that only your team can change those files. And so then you have your organization-wide or team-wide security rules. And when people go to start their development, say, don't forget, or even set up a hook, pull down these rules files and make sure that you have these whenever you're using Q. That's what I would do.
Cool.
I wanted to show you here that I have these agents. I just loaded up Q Chat with my custom agent. I'm probably going to do a deep dive on this one in a few weeks also. So I opened this up with my agent, my security guardian agent. So can you review this code? So now he's going to look at this. We see the thinking happening. And so the user is asking me to review code, but they didn't tell me what code to review. I'll ask them to address. So you can see what they're thinking. I think that's really neat. Review the code in the agent core folder, please.
And that's interesting. Did you create this agent, or was it something that was inbuilt?
I created it. So here is, just because I have my solution architect agent already pulled up, you can create an agent. You do a /agent create, I believe is the command for that. And you give them this is kind of his prompt. I call it his personality file. So this is his core capabilities for the solution architect agent, the things that he's good at, a lot of these serverless sort of things. And then you can also load specific MCPs for each of your agents. So I'm just so fascinated.
Yeah, this is amazing.
It's so cool. So I want my solution architect to be able to analyze costs a whole lot and capacity and those sorts of things. So I gave this one access to CC API, which is part of AWS Labs/MCP GitHub repo. So let's see. I think we're almost out of time. We're down to like 5 minutes. But just really quickly, let's look and see what he reviewed. So my security guardian reviewed this code base, which is quite a bit that's in there. It's well structured, good use of modern JavaScript patterns. I didn't write it. Thank you, Q. And here are some security concerns. So 3 things right now. I would probably get to those within here as well, but I really like to have the agents like talking to each other. I like for the solution architect or my default agent to come up with a plan and then have that reviewed by my security agent. So I have this whole vision of having all of these different, like a fleet of agents doing all the different things for me. It's sort of like the BMAD method. If you've seen anything on that, it just popped up like a month ago. And I think it's very cool. So these are the problems. No unit tests. My bad. That is bad. I should have had that myself. So anyways, I need some security hardening before we go and actually push this to production. So those are some of the new things that are happening here in QDev, and some of my favorite old things too, the review my code feature. So that's what I wanted to show you. And we are down to just a couple of minutes. We have to be done at the bottom of the hour. So I don't know, any questions? So I don't think I showed this. I was wondering how Amazon Q Business works and how to use it. Looking forward to trying it out soon. So thank you, Warren, for watching. And Jane, thanks for teaching him. Woo!
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, let us know how it goes, Warren. That's awesome.
And then Victor here, he doesn't know much, but AI knows everything according to YouTube and other sources. I mean, or it makes it up, right? So
it will never say no.
It will tell you exactly what you want to listen.
Exactly. Cool. Well, I just want to thank everybody for being on, for watching us today. Hopefully this kind of helps you understand the different cousins in the Q family. And Jane and Priyanka, thank you so much for being on the show. Any last words before we sign off? We have 2 minutes.
I'll just say, GenAI, there are more complex use cases that can take like weeks and months, but not everything has to take weeks and months before you can start using it. So I hope seeing today, encourages you to experiment and just try out some of the products and see what you can do.
Awesome.
Yeah, same here with QuickSight. The first month is free if you have not adopted QuickSight already. So I would say go ahead and start using QuickSight and also the natural language capabilities. I believe if you still have QuickSight but have not upgraded to QuickSight Q, you should still be able to start asking questions as in form of readers, maybe not the very complex one, but still the basic one. So go try it out and tell us what you think. And I'll just leave you with this, that there are more exciting things coming as we get very close to reInvent.
Absolutely. And on that note, so next week we are going to have an Agent Core episode. So you'll see Piali and Jigna doing some cool stuff with Agent Core. And then Jane and I will be back. We'll be doing the reInvent schedule drops at the end of the month. So Jane and I are going to be back to help you out with some of that. I'm talking custom agents probably on October 6th, right before my birthday. And then we'll have a deep dive in QuickSight at the end of October 27th. At least that's the plan, subject to change. So I hope to see everyone back on our live show or watching it later. We're here every Monday at 11:30 Central. Time zone math is not my thing. 11:30 Central is all I can tell you. And hope to see you again soon. Thank you, everybody.
See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.